great pleasure to welcome Mike Styer, who is the country manager for GlassHouse South Africa. Mike, it's really good to see you. Welcome to What's Next, and how are you doing firstly?
Doing well, Aki, doing well. It looks like we've passed the hump a little bit. Business seems to be coming back. Hopefully it's good business and not just, people going through the motions, but things are definitely starting to look up a bit.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, listen, there's a massive focus on security. We've heard of a few breaches. We've heard of a few incidents that have happened since the lockdown, and there's certainly very many vulnerabilities that have been exposed. When we talk about cyber recovery, why is it so crucial, and why is cyber recovery so important for organizations, Mike?
Okay, well, cyber recovery, Aki, it's just the next phase, okay, of your business continuity strategy. You know, business continuity started off right in the very beginning with just backup and recovery. We then had sort of king reports and recommendations, and disaster recovery in major organizations. It was recommended that was implemented, and that was kind of the next phase. And remember, these things are built on a trust deficit, and some measures put in place to cover that trust deficit. So backup and recovery to give you the capability to get your data back that you may have lost. Disaster recovery to give you the capability to switch over very quickly in the event of some type of physical event happening at your organization, flooding, fire, electricity, sort of very real things that could happen in South Africa.
Yeah.
And the times have changed. We've now got a new breed of criminal out there. They're now starting to attack you. They're now starting to realize the value of data. I mean, certain organizations are actually bringing data onto their balance sheets as an asset. And these guys are starting to attack this. And these cyber criminals are the guys that have resulted in us having to put a cyber resilience plan in place and to be able to ensure that you can recover from a cyber attack. So it's the next evolution of your business continuity strategy. So it's key. It's totally important. Everybody has to have some type of cyber resiliency or cyber recovery plan that is now being attached strategically to their business continuity plan.
You know, Mike, it's so interesting. You talk about this new level of criminal, this new kind of criminal, and we're certainly seeing it. You know, whichever CIO, C-suite executive you talk about, they will tell you that this new world of work has changed so many parameters, and it's impacted organizations in many different ways. I mean, some ways are obviously positive. The fact that people have got the agility to continue working remotely, but of course, it comes with its own challenges. And you mentioned data and how important data is, but this new world of work is bringing tremendous challenges, especially when we look at protecting data.
Mm-hmm. And I like the way you speak about the new world of work and not the new normal, which has just become so cliched. Aki, previously we had 90% of our workforce sitting behind our firewall in a brick and mortar building that we had secured. We totally controlled the LAN, the networking infrastructure, and the people that did work beyond that, we would have VPNs, and it was all very controlled, very tight, and everything was pretty secure. Now, with everybody working from home, a lot of people going down to the local coffee shop, doing a couple of hours work there. These are open networks. There's guys that are really clever out there that can start to push stuff to your laptops, to your PCs, and people are very, unsuspecting that this type of thing can happen on a public network. And your problems might be walking through the front door with your people in their laptop bag. They come, they walk in, they put their laptop down, or they sign on from home, they go in via a VPN, and all of a sudden these guys are there, they get into the system, and they're able to start putting stuff down in place. So the new normal, or the new way of work, has brought a large amount of change to the way that security needs to be looked at. Every single laptop needs to be looked at in isolation to make sure that there's no single issue that can walk through the door with your employees, as I said previously. But that's an impossible task. To go and closely monitor every single device that's out there on your network, be it a phone, be it a laptop, whatever it is, that's really the impossible. So what should you be doing? I think you should be looking for that worst case scenario that should this stuff get into your organization, and it's not a matter of should, okay? It's going to be a matter of when. When do these guys get in, when malware, ransomware, this type of thing gets in and gets onto your systems, are you ready for it? Firstly, have you got the means to recover? And secondly, if you don't have the means to fully recover, do you have proper cyber resilience where you have a copy of your data that nobody can tamper with?
Well, it's interesting you talk about these cyber attacks, Mike, and just as an outsider, reading what's happening in the world of technology and keeping my finger on the pulse, I'm certainly getting the impression that there is an increase in cyber attacks there. I'm seeing a lot more companies reporting, infringements that have happened. Some breaches have happened. Are you seeing an increase in cyber attacks?
Most definitely. We are really, really seeing from 2019, which was a relatively quiet year while the world was reeling, we were sitting at about 18 to 19% of companies in South Africa being attacked. Last year's reported by Sophos, 24% of companies experienced some type of a cyber attack. How many are out there that people are not aware of that's happening? How many have happened there that people are so scared of the organizations are so scared of the reputational damage that they're actually not reporting it? So these figures can be given quite a lot of leeway. I do believe that there is not an organization out there that at this point in time is not being probed in some way and people gearing up to do some type of a cyber attack into that space. It's definitely on the increase. Of the organizations that have been attacked, that we do know about, that have reported, 15% of them, okay, 15% have reported an impact. Okay, that's significant. 24% of those, okay, are saying that yes, they were down for between 2 and 4 days, okay, and a further 11% experienced more than 7 days downtime. Wow. 7 days. Can your business withstand 7 days downtime? And this is like really getting serious. But if you have a look at it, 44% in the same survey that was conducted, 44% of people are saying they're expecting to be attacked. So there's a lot of people out there that have been attacked. There's a lot of people out there that saying they're expecting to be attacked. And I cannot believe that there's a lot of people sitting in oblivion. People must be looking at this. And one of the very scary things is 27% of organizations globally that have experienced a cyber attack have actually paid the ransoms.
What? How much did you say?
27% of organizations globally have admitted to paying a ransom. That's aiding and abetting criminal activity.
That's insane. That's insane, Mike. I mean, it actually sounds like it's a war out there at the moment, and I can't believe it. Just listening to those statistics, I mean, this is the new world of the mob, I guess. This is the new world of cyber criminals. They are targeting specific organizations. But you touched on earlier on cyber resilience and cyber recovery. Talk to us about the cyber recovery solutions that are must-haves, that are available out there, that will be useful for organizations.
Yeah, well, let's put the solutions on the back burner for a little while. Let's look at the must-haves that any solution should have. Okay, so a solution should be able to give you a golden copy of your data. A copy of your data that nobody can touch, nobody can change. To use a really geek word, it's immutable. Okay, so imagine it being written onto a CD. Once it's burned on the foil inside a CD, you cannot change it. It's a write once, read many type of format. And that's what you need. You need to be able to have your data sitting in that format that can never be changed. Now, even if there is a piece of malware or a virus or a piece of ransomware sitting inside that, once it's in that original immutable copy, you can start to work with that. Any change, anything that happens to that gets stored as a different copy of the data. But that original copy needs to be there for regulatory requirements, audit, all that type of thing, to be able to show that you've got that data in its original format. Secondly, you have to have that data that's separated away from your network, your applications, your people. Just now you get a disgruntled guy that gets fired for, I don't know, for whatever he does, and he goes and destroys your main database. If he does that in an online environment and you replicate into a disaster recovery site, That database disappears here and it's replicated and disappears on the other side. How do you recover from that? What do you do? So you have to have a copy of this data that sits where nobody can get to it. It's detached from the network, away from applications and away from people that could intentionally or unintentionally damage it at the end of the day. You also have to have a vault, a mechanism where this stuff sits, where this copy of data, these golden copies of data sit, and you have to have some type of intelligence that runs against it. Now, there's lots of AI and machine learning that sits out there and analytics that can run against the data. And you've got to go and look for what you know. Why scan a file, a Word document that doesn't have a macro active in it? Because it cannot do any damage. So you ignore it until such time as a macro activates. But there's data, unstructured data, that you don't know what it is. So you continuously monitor that data. And the new big word is entropy. Entropy is the randomness of data. So when the randomness of data changes, you need to be made aware of it. It gets bigger, it gets smaller, it does something unusual, okay? And you have to be looking for that. So you have to be looking at structured and unstructured data, data that you know what it is, data that you don't know what it is. And when you see these changes happening, you have to have a mechanism in place that freezes this out, alerts the really geek guys that dream in hex and speak in binary and do all this type of thing. And you get these guys that get in there and have a look at what this stuff is and how do you go about sorting it out. So then on top of the analytics, you've got to have some type of tried and tested infrastructure that you're going to go on. You're going into the new world of cyber criminality. You're trying to keep one step ahead of these guys that sitting in dark spaces and coding away there and doing all their stuff that they do. And you want to have tried and tested infrastructure. You don't want to go and put something in there that is bleeding edge and at the end of the day, you have an issue. So a good infrastructure, immutable data, an air-gapped copy of your data. And you have to get the right people to buy into this because this is no longer an IT problem. This is a fully fledged business problem. The guys that sit up there in the boardrooms and the C-suites in the offices that have lots of green leather in it, those guys need to buy in. They are stakeholders because the reputational damage that if you are ransomware and you decide not to pay, your customer can turn around and say, is that what you feel about my data? And then if you do pay, you're going to be accused of aiding and abetting criminality. So you're kind of a case of you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. And this has to be done at the highest levels of an organization. You have to have the buy-in from those stakeholders that sit right at the very top. So it's a business issue. Okay, it's an IT issue. Your security that traditionally looked outwards has now got to start looking inwards. So all of these solutions have to come and put this whole thing together, and people have to be in a position where they are willing to collaborate and they're willing to work together across the various different business silos. Because if they don't, the solutions are not going to work out there. They're really not going to work. It's complex.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic advice there, Mike. And, it sounds complex, but it's not complex. There's a lot of common sense. And I love what you said about, having that your data separated, and you have that the glass level, the gold level of your data separate that nobody can touch. I love that. And it's interesting that so many organizations don't have it like that, which is most bizarre in the world that we're living in. Coming back to your organization at GlassHouse, what is your role in cyber recovery?
Well, Lucky, we're aligned to Dell. We're very closely aligned to Dell. And Dell have a really great product called CRS, Cyber Recovery Services. They've taken some of their tried and tested technology. They're putting it down there. It gets great capacity. It can store a huge amount of capacity in it. It is extremely reliable, and it is enterprise grade right the way down to sort of the mid-size, the mid-range level of the marketplace as well. We have taken that complexity out of implementing this. So the analytics software that sits on top of it, the immutable copy of your data, air-gapped away from all the applications and networking and all that. We take that, we run a bundle of services around the Dell solution that make this easy for you. We then go on to look after it, either for a short period of time, and we do a knowledge transfer to you, or we go and we look after it on an ongoing basis. It is something that has to be babysat because the world is changing all the time. The way these cyber criminals are working, So we've got to go and have a look at a number of things. We first of all have to identify that data that you need to have a golden copy of. There's a lot of data that's just there because you need it there. You like to have it there. You run analytics against it, but your business doesn't go down without it. But there's a lot of data that your business does not, your revenue generating systems, those you've got to have those a single golden copy of those data, of that data, of those systems, because you want to be able to get up and running as quick as possible. Because remember, these cyber criminals will attack your backup system. They will attack your disaster recovery system. They will destroy the catalogs of where all your backups exist. That's one of the first places they go to stop you having the ability to recover. So we go out there, we identify what are your golden apps, what data, what is that golden copy of data that we have to keep? How many copies of it do you have to keep? We also then go and set up the secret source, the AI and the machine learning, that it can continue to learn, knowing what your data looks like. And we help you build that and put that in place. We also then put the platform that you will recover to. So you could already have been hit. You're busy trying to find out, how did this get in? Where is the problem? But we can have a platform in the background where you have the capability to start restoring while this is all happening. So this is not backup and recovery. This is not disaster recovery. This is part of your business resumption plan that fits into your business continuity strategy. It's new, and it's something that we're very good at, and we help customers implement it. We use a state-of-the-art CRS from Dell, using tried and tested technology, well known in the marketplace, and we make it simple and take the complexity out of it for customers. I mean, data is one of the things we've done for the last 20 years. Data is part of our DNA. And, you look after your application, you look after your business, let us look after your data.
Yeah, absolutely. And data is the most critical part in the business today. It's the new oil. I know all the cliches, the new gold, whatever. But, if you don't protect your data and your data falls into the wrong hands and there's any kind of breach, your business is in massive trouble. And we haven't even discussed POPI and this particular act that's just around the corner. So there's massive implications. Look after the data. Mike Styer, who is the country manager of GlassHouse South Africa, we thank you for joining us on What's Next on My Broadband. Mike, thank you so much. That invaluable advice. I think that any organization watching this particular segment is going to say, tick, 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 we need to do this. And it's common sense. Apply those guidelines that you've discussed, and you will be a lot safer than what you currently are, is the bottom line.
Exactly. 100%. Like you've summed it up. You've summarized it perfectly.
Mike, thank you for joining us, and we wish you well.
Thank you.